So, hi everyone. Welcome to this new session of the UTM Virtual Coffees. Today, we're going to focus on sustainable energy strategies, and we are pleased to welcome our speakers. We're welcoming Aksinia Zinko from Zhytomyr, Jason Brown. Sorry for that, Jason Grant from Miami-Dade County. And our expert to facilitate the discussion would be Stefania Mascolo from Cities. Please, if you want to introduce yourself quickly, the floor is yours. And afterwards, I'm gonna have a word on the agenda for today. Please.
I can start if you want.
Yes, please go ahead, Stefania.
Yes, thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm Stefania Mascolo. I'm project coordinator at Cities for environment and climate projects. Very happy to be here with these two amazing cities that I've never worked with. So I'm very excited to hear. And thank you so much for the opportunity.
Our pleasure. Aksinia, you wanna go ahead?
Yes, of course. So my name is Aksinia Zinko, and I represent Ukrainian city Zhytomyr. And I'll be happy to participate in the virtual coffee, even though I don't really have coffee itself, most unfortunately.
Don't worry. That's an Italian thing, I think. Having coffee all day long. Thank you very much for being here, for participating. Jason, please, the floor is yours.
Absolutely. Welcome, everybody. Jason Grant, Senior Energy Program Manager for Office of Resilience, Miami-Dade County in Miami, Florida, USA. Happy to be here. And I'm doing virtual tea today. So.
Thank you very much. It's very nice to see you here after meeting you a couple of weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago actually, in Brussels for the Urban Transition Global Innovation Summit. So our agenda for the day, we're gonna hear about municipal energy approach and global strategy for the city of Zhytomyr. I don't know if I'm saying it properly. Please excuse my French. And afterwards, we're gonna give the floor to Jason, who's going to tell us about the sustainable energy and greenhouse gas emissions situation in Miami. Aksinia, I think that now is your turn.
Okay.
So just feel free to tell me when to pass to the next slide, and I'll be pleased to do so.
Yeah, okay, thank you so much. Actually, today I am really keen on sharing with you a bit of information about our city development strategies, especially in terms of energy. Yeah? So we can please come to the next slide. Which is also kind of introductory still, but yeah. So the thing is that for those who don't know, Zhytomyr, my native city, actually is located in the north of Ukraine. So basically, maybe you know where the capital Kyiv is. So it's very close to Kyiv, and it's kind of like medium-sized city for us. It has, as you can see on the slide, 262, like almost 63,000 population. And the thing is that our city consumes pretty much energy, and we have understood that for like quite some time. And as you can see in this slide, I'm not sure whether this number tells anyone anything, but still we consume 2.8 terawatt hours per year. So it was just like for fun, we decided like to calculate the total usage, like or consumption actually of electricity a year. Yes, so you have to calculate absolutely everything. So like starting with diesel for the cars, yes, and finishing with the cooking using the gas cooker. So all this stuff was calculated, and it amounted up to this like number. Let's say it's kind of much, but we have also tried to find out how many terawatt hours per year other cities use. So basically it's the same. But in our case, the efficiency of the energy use is a bit different, and we think we can improve it quite much. Can you please switch the slide, the next one? Yeah, so, and Coming closer to the strategies. So our city is developing really fast, I must say. Okay, if we didn't have a very difficult political situation, let's say, we would have been developing even faster. So if to talk about our strategies, so we have the main huge strategy. This is the name of it is a development strategy. So, and we elaborated it during some years. I think we started in 2015 and we finished and approved it already in 2019. And this development strategy, we have to implement until 2030. So it's kind of like a long-term strategy. It includes many different fields, many different sectors. You can see them all in the slide. But the main for us for now is, of course, the green city strategy. Yes, so the green city, it includes many different ways of development. So first of all, of course, we want our city to be literally green. So we are caring for our greenery, for like planting the trees and make it really a nice and safe and comfortable living place for our people. But also we have undertaken some kind of responsibilities after becoming a part of the Covenant of Mayors in 2012. Yes, so we have undertaken some responsibilities in reduction of the CO2 emissions, of course, and also using renewable energy sources. Yes, you can also see that here. So we have claimed before that we would have to reduce the CO2 emissions by 2020 by 20%. And then we have understood that it's not ambitious enough, and we decided to say that, okay, we want to reduce our CO2 emissions by 40% until 2030. And we would like to switch to renewable energy sources like for 100% until 2050. But can we please come to the next slide? We are very ambitious and we are doing a great job. So you will see it in the next slide, but still here, a bit more, some words of about the development strategy we have. So we have elaborated the very big document. To be honest, it's literally such a very thick book. And in this document, we have the strategic objectives, so very clear imagination of what we would like to have. So you can also see them here. So basically, we would like to provide a safe environment for our people to live in. We would like to teach our people how to deal with the environment they live in, so and what they have to do to become a good member of our small society. And also, of course, we would like to achieve some global goals in terms of the energy saving and energy efficiency. And as I said, like we are caring for the nice looks of our city and also ecological value of our city. So we are planting green areas. So we are caring for that as well. And also in our strategic document, we have lots of criteria, actually 40 indicators. Yeah. So how good we are, like how well we are doing the job. And every a certain period of time, I would say every 2 years, approximately, we are checking on how well we've done. So the last check we did, it was in 2021. So can we please switch to the next slide? Yeah, so, and a bit more about how good we are. So in 2021, we checked our key indicators and we tried to identify how well we are doing the job, whether we are keeping up to what we have promised. And I must say that we are doing really good. As I mentioned, we said, like we claimed, that we would reduce the CO2 emissions by 40% until 2030. In fact, we have already managed to reduce the CO2 emissions by almost 40%, which we claimed we would do until 2030 only. So basically, we have almost done what we have promised. But it was already in 2021. So now we are in 2024. And I believe this number has increased greatly. But I would say that, as I say, like we normally like conduct this check, yes, so how well we are doing. every 2 years. So, and this check, the other check had to take place last year in 2023, but of course, due to the not so nice circumstances in terms of the war we have in my country, so we couldn't have done it on time, unfortunately. But this year we are doing that, and we hope we will be finished in the beginning of the next year. So in 2025, we will have new numbers, much more up to date, but still, even though those old ones, they are already quite ambitious. So can we please come to the next slide? Yeah, so, and except for reducing the CO2 emissions themselves, we have been really working on the replacement of all the fossil fuels as much as possible. So because again, we have claimed that we would switch to the 100% renewable energy sources by 2050. And in our case, of course, like gas, the natural gas is the most like a weak point for us, because it's very costly and it's not that easily available for us. And we have been trying to reduce its consumption very much. And in this slide, you can see that we have invested quite much money. It's 30 million euro in the development and modernization of our district heating system, because the district heating system consumes the biggest amount of gas. So it's almost, I would say, 80% out of the whole gas consumption. This is for the district heating system. And if to talk about the whole energy consumption, natural gas occupies around 66% out of the whole energy, if to talk about the all energy sources. And again, so we have implemented quite many nice projects together with our partners, which you can see also on the slide. So plenty of different projects in terms of make our district heating system much more resilient and much more energy consuming. And of course, we were trying to replace natural gas. And we have reached a great result. You can see it here. Back in 2012, we consumed 99 million cubic meters, whereas right now it's twice less. Like it was last year, so now it's a bit probably more even. So it's like 50% reduction of the gas consumption. It's a huge achievement for us, and we must say that we are exceeding expectations if to talk about our development strategy even. So we are really moving ahead. Can we please move to the next slide? Yeah, so, and this is also one of our ways to implement our development strategy in terms of becoming a green city. So, and as I said, for the replacement of the natural gas. So we have constructed, and we are going to still construct a couple of installations, like plants, which will be working purely on biomass, and one of those will be working on the CRF fuel. And this is wonderful because, first of all, we can replace the gas. And once we will have implemented all the 4 of them, we will reduce the gas consumption by 80%. So it's really tremendous. And we would be able to cover the whole main big districts of my city through implementing these 4 installations. So 2 of them are already done. And one of them, this is for the 12 megawatt heat and 1.8 megawatt electricity. It is now being implemented. So we are choosing the contractor. And the other one, so which is actually the biggest and mostly awaited for, I would say this is the 30 megawatt heat and 10 megawatt electricity is going to be implemented as soon as possible. Now we are at the stage of developing the estimate, so the estimate documentation. So, but we are keen on implementing that. So we only hope that we will have enough of resources, support, and luck, let's say, also in terms of our situation, to implement these all projects by 2026. But to be honest, I'm not sure it's really realistic. Maybe it will take a bit more time, unfortunately, because we have some obstacles. So can we please go to the next slide? Yeah, so, and Also, yeah, of course, the gas consumption is important, and we are trying to reduce it through using the biomass, like a renewable energy source. And of course, the electricity is one of our very, very weak points as well, because as you know, our electricity systems suffer so much, and we have to save electricity as much as we can. And of course, we also would like to save energy in principle, but also in our situation, it's getting even more critical. And we have also decided to modernize our water supply system. And we again spent quite much money on that. So it's 40 million euro just to modernize the system. So we have been replacing the pump stations and water treatment facilities in order to consume less electricity. So the more efficient the installation is, the less electricity, of course, it consumes. And we have been working on this quite for some years, and still now a bit, but I would say that more or less all our pumping stations have been replaced, and at least the main ones. So we're still a bit working on that, but almost all are replaced. And through that, we could have also reduced the electricity consumption by the number you can see. So it's basically like 27% out of the normal yearly consumption. So, and these are the methods how we are trying to implement our development strategy. So can we come to the next slide, please? Yeah, so except for the like trying to modernize the water supply system, the water treatment system, also replacing the gas, also trying to saving up electricity as much as we can, we have done a great project. As you can see it here, it's our pride somehow, because we have replaced all the outdoor lighting poles, lighting system with the LED. So basically all our city has LED lighting for now, and this is a great achievement because it helped us also to make such a great step forward, and it helped us, and it still helps to reduce the electricity consumption by 50%. So I must also say that even though the amount of the poles, lighting poles, has increased almost twice, yeah, so the saving still remains 50% almost. So it's a great amount of saving, because our city was growing, the amount of lighting poles increased, but still just because we implemented the LED lighting, the electricity consumption reduced that much. So, and just to summarize a bit, we have worked on this development strategy only starting from 2015. So, okay, we started thinking of that after becoming the member of the Covenant of Mayors, back in 2012, but still it took us quite some time to understand what we want to do, how we want to do, and we were also learning quite much, because we lacked knowledge at that time on how to manage everything, how to launch the different projects. So it really needs some education, and we have done that. And then starting from 2015, we have elaborated a small sectoral plan for the reducing energy consumption, only for the energy, which was not included in the big development strategy, because at that time we didn't have the development strategy. So we elaborated only the most pressing one for energy, and then we were trying to implement that. And at the same time, we decided to elaborate the whole development strategy for the city. And then we integrated a small plan into the whole strategy. And for now, we have a clear understanding of what we want to do until 2030, hopefully even longer. But for now, I think we are reaching all our objectives, regardless of the situation we are in. So, and basically the next slide is almost the last one. So it's a very small one. Oh, something happened to the slide, sorry. Okay. No. Okay, so but that doesn't really matter. So the next slide tells us about one of the ways we're also trying to reduce energy consumption. This is like the making our buildings as energy efficient as possible. And that's pretty clear. Yes, so the more energy efficient building is, the less energy it consumes. And it's also a great job we've done. And then you can maybe come to the next slide. Hopefully it loads completely. Yeah. So this is a very small bit of thing which we are doing now. These are only the very first steps, unfortunately, and not really that much has been done yet. We are trying to investigate the solar power for our city. We have implemented only 2 small solar power stations. It's not enough by far, but these are the first steps we do, and we are trying now to increase this amount, and we are already going to install 2 more small stations on the roofs of the critical infrastructure facilities. Yeah, but still it's only something we would like very much to do, but also it takes some time and money, so that's why it's not really so easily implemented for now. But we are working on that, and we have some prospects for the future and desire what we have to do for the future, and we have a clear plan what we need to do and what we want to do. So, and as we can see that we are moving according to the plan, and we do hope that nothing will stop us, and we can reach all what we have promised and maybe even more by at least 2030. So, and then we shall see. Thank you. Too much talking. Thank you.
Ksenia, for this very detailed and very comprehensive expose. Stefania, maybe you have something that you would like to say.
Yes, thank you so much, actually, Ksenia, for the presentation. As Nicola was saying, very comprehensive. I didn't expect, but in just few minutes, you had really given us the full picture of the city efforts over basically 10 years. So thank you so much. It was super interesting. I've taken some notes just to comment on some points that I think are very relevant. First of all, I think it's very important that, as you were saying, you started this journey to develop the climate and sustainability plan and energy plans as well with the Covenant of Mayors, as so many other cities do. So I think it's a great way to start, because you are already part of even bigger initiatives and other cities that share also the same challenges. But of course, then the different contexts come into play, and there are different specifics as well. But this is a great starting point. And so I think that the beginning, starting with the Covenant of Mayor, for sure, was a great way
Step.
to do it. Exactly. We also work with, for example, with cities in Turkey as well, and it's very common to hear that when they joined the Covenant of Mayor, really was like a starting point, or really a renewal, or what they wanted to do and giving direction. You also mentioned the fact that it took you, of course, as a city, some time to figure out things, and that's of course part of the process, and also an important step as well. And we can see the result, because in few years you have achieved a lot of the goals that you put. So really, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And I also think that this is something that also I wanted to highlight. I think it's a great way and a great platform, also being part of UTMC, that you can share this, because of course we know the situation in Ukraine. So I think that Zhytomyr is a great example at this moment on how you are handling, still in this very difficult situation, keep working and putting so much efforts on your goals, which is, we can only imagine, not easy. And also, of course, the fact that you are focusing on both the energy efficiency, so tackling basically the built environment, also the water management as well. You also have mentioned, of course, the renewable energy, the energy mix, working on the energy mix. So I think these are basically, you are tackling the most important sector, especially when we talk about national security as well. So this is really important, especially for the context of Ukrainian cities, and it's great. And then you also have mentioned the holistic, let's say, urban planning. I would like also to know more, maybe later, about how you have, for example, involved other stakeholders. I saw that, of course, for the investment planning, you have been working with diverse financial institutions. Of course, this is very important. Maybe later you can tell us more also about the citizen, for example, how they have reacted, because the cities is really leading a lot of change, no? So it would be nice to hear also the reaction, and even if even the behaviors, no, of citizens, which is very impacting on this kind of infrastructure and solutions that you are developing. So I think it was really an interesting presentation. And maybe last thing that it surprised me a lot, the fact that you have already set a lot of KPIs and monitoring tools, because many cities that have started even 20 or 30 years back are still struggling with setting and using monitoring tools and setting KPIs that can really be used and put in place. So I think this was very surprising, and really congratulations on this point.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the kind words. And yes, indeed, we've done so much. And we have also got the European Energy Award. I'm not sure, but you know that. So, but we were the second city in Ukraine which got this award in principle, and we are keeping up all the time. So every 4 years, we have to like prove that we are still up to this award. And this is also like a very nice like motivation for us, yes, to keep up.
A very well-deserved award. I can tell you that I work with many cities, and these KPIs and really keeping up with the performance and the monitoring and the evaluation is something that most cities really struggle with. So kudos to you for keep the efforts on. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you both. Thank you very much, Aksenia, for your very inspiring presentation. Jason, the floor is yours. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and you will be able to start sharing yours by using the dedicated icon. I think that you can see it at the bottom of your screen.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And thank you everybody for being here. And Aksenia, thank you so much for that presentation. I was really impressed with the level of detail and the amount of progress that you guys have made so far. I'm jealous with certain things that you're doing. I wish we could do them a little bit faster over here, but congrats to you guys. And as mentioned, especially with the geopolitical environment, extremely impressive.
Thank you so much.
Let me share my screen here. I'm going to take a slightly different approach from our Office of Resilience. Let's see. How do I do it here? This one's a little bit different. So let me pick my screen here. Why is it not showing? Oh, here we go. There we go. I think you should be able to see it now.
Okay.
Excellent. I'll keep the slides open. When I go to full screen, for some reason, it messes with the two screens, but I'll keep these side ones open. All right. So again, Miami-Dade County Office of Resilience. I'll be taking an approach just describing the different things that our office is working on with respect to city resilience initiatives. Real quick, our office is separated into a bunch of different groups. We have the Energy and Climate Mitigation Team. That's the team that I head up as the energy manager. We also have an adaptation team, communications. We have what's called the Biscayne Bay team. They're looking at we have one national park to the east of us, Biscayne Bay. We also have another national park. We're the one city actually in America that has two national parks on either side. We have Biscayne Bay on one side and the Everglades on the other. And the Biscayne Bay team is really looking at resilience issues associated with the Bay. We now have an extreme heat team. This is a new concept in resilience in the U.S. We were the first city to have a chief of heat, chief heat officer. And that's underway. We've developed an extreme heat action plan. We also have Future Ready, looking at all innovation, economic development, and also zero waste. We're always looking to minimize that, although the zero waste strategy is kind of matriculated over to our solid waste management department. There's big things going on over there. So we've been working a lot with them to get them on board with that plan. I'm going to focus just on adaptation and mitigation today since our time is short. But from the adaptation side, we're looking at sea level rise, windstorm management. We also have storm surges that come in with the hurricanes. that we get. Also king tide events, we get those a couple times a year, and combine all that together with sea level rise. It's a recipe for disaster, especially since our elevation here in Miami-Dade is very low. We're almost at sea level. Also adaptation, looking at flooding issues within the county, and then trying to deal with these through nature-based solutions. We're working with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, trying to figure out how to deal with this sea level rise that's projected over the next 50 years. And a lot of the current planning is looking at nature-based solutions, including mangrove expansion, mangrove coastal plantings to shore up the coastlands, dunes, things like that, and other solutions. And we may even need some tidal gates and things like Netherlands and Venice. And then, of course, development requirements. How does this all tie into policy, and what do we now require with our development, given that our development assets are, lasting 50 years or more? So here with our sea level requirements, we're really looking at all infrastructure projects. What is the base elevation? Do they need to be raised? We're looking at 50-year modeling, and then trying to integrate into the design life of the projects what needs to be done. We have several resolutions and ordinances that direct that and determine what needs to be done, and we do full analysis of all our county projects. And now we're seeing too on the commercial side and the private sector side, they're taking this into consideration too with their development. Sea level rise have already risen 10 inches, 4 inches since 1992. So we're already seeing the effects here in our low-lying areas. On Miami Beach side, we have what's called daytime flooding with our high tide events. We just see it coming up through the streets and stuff, which is an interesting event. But basically, these are all we have a canal system here in Miami-Dade where all the rainwater and storm water gets diverted into canals, and then the canals drain into our bay, and those are controlled through gates. But there's a lot of worry there that as sea level rise comes in, those canals will be an issue, and also through our geological substrate through the aquifer underneath. So, and here you can kind of see, right, coastal flooding, storm water through storm events, sea level rise, and rainfall, all an issue for our county. And here you can kind of see the effects that we have when we do have a lot of rain or windstorms from the different hurricanes and storm surges. But you've seen this on the news, I'm sure, and this happens in other places in the world. Here's some other events. This is our downtown area. Actually, I used to live right down there, and it just gets flooded, and the hurricanes with the wind really destroys everything. So you got to adapt to that. Some more flooding. We had an event last year. The Fort Lauderdale is a municipality about 30 minutes to the north. The entire airport was about 2 feet underwater. I think that airport got 2 feet in 4 hours of rain, which is incredible. So how do we deal with these events? How do we start designing our development to deal with them? We look at different modeling. There's the NOAA extreme, the NOAA high, the intermediate high, and the IPCC median. And we're kind of looking far out, about 50 years. And it's funny because when we deal with our departments and they're building or they're developing infrastructure, they say, well, 50 years is so far away. Why are we worried why do we have to develop now and integrate into these plans something for 50 years from now? Well, the lifespan of these assets is at least 50 years. We have many buildings in the county that are even older than that. And then looking at the modeling, when you look at the modeling 50 years out, you really have to take into account. And we tend to look at the kind of between the intermediate high and the median. We're kind of looking in there, but even there, you can see a good 3 or 4 feet rise in the next 50 years. So it's something that we're very concerned about. We have a lot of GIS modeling for flooding vulnerability through the county that we use. We can use these maps to look at where development is occurring and how to accommodate for sea level rise and other either storm surge events or even tidal events in the future. And some other things that we're trying to adapt to. Some other issues that we're looking at with stormwater runoff, fertilizer and pesticides. We've eliminated that during our wet season, so you can't do any fertilization of your your lawn and stuff during summertime. Septic systems is a big issue here in the county. We need to abolish all of we have about almost 200,000 septic systems in the county that will soon become, many of which now are inoperable. They're not working because the groundwater has come up so high, the elevation so low that their drain fields aren't working. So we need to get rid of all our sewers, our septic systems, and tie them into county sewer, and that's a major undertaking. I think that's about a $4 or $5 billion project, and will be completed in 2040, I believe. It's already started. Canals, aging infrastructure, of course, with water and sewer, and then of course extreme heat, climate change issues. Some approaches for development. When we start thinking about these things, we can have an elevated first floor, salt-tolerant landscaping for the coastal areas, permeable surfaces, water, of course, flowing under the building when it's elevated, site elevated with fill, and then for our coastal areas, the seawall is also elevated. And we have a sea level rise strategy. You can get that at this site. We'll share these slides after, but that's on the adaptation side. I'm going to go now into my side of the Office of Resilience on the mitigation side. And here we have different programs that are also looking at county development through implementing orders. Our source of greenhouse gas emissions probably look like many other municipalities. You can see a major component for buildings and energy at about 41%. Our transportation and land use at about 55%, and water and waste making up the remainder there. But I think that profile is probably similar to others. We use about, I think it's about 1.2 terawatt hours in electricity, and I would imagine a little bit more on the transportation side a year. Here we use, here you can see our ICLEI greenhouse gas reporting. We use ICLEI as for our inventories. And here you can see that we're about 37 million metric tons between the different sectors, transportation, wastewater, and then all the way down to, and we separate the electricity into commercial, industrial, residential. We've actually had, we have our climate action strategy, and we have our goals of, in fact, here they are, reduce emissions by 50% by 2030 and net zero by 2050. These are common goals with climate action strategies. The 50% by 2030, we've done quite well. We've done about, I would say about 10, 15% of that since we initialized our baseline in 2019. The other 35% is going to be a challenge. And quite frankly, I don't think we're going to meet. I think that's similar with other municipalities in our efforts trying to get there. There's a lot of reasons for that, and maybe different from yours, but as hard as we try, it's a very daunting, ambitious goal, that 50 by 2030, especially where we are, and we're so heavily dependent on the transportation side. It's difficult. Although in the county, we have an initiative to convert all electric vehicles in the county, all light vehicles, light duty vehicles for county operations by 2030. And we're already about 20% there. And that goal will meet. We're also converting all of our busing to EV. So all of our busing will be converted. I think that's a 2035 plan, and we're on our way there. And then, of course, there's through the Inflation Reduction Act, funding through the federal government to start transitioning the private and commercial sector of light duty cars to EVs, and that's underway too. And I think Florida is actually number two or three in the country, California being one. But we've had a high adoption of EVs here too. So focusing on the energy building side for electricity, we really are trying to look at retuning, retrofitting buildings, expanding our renewable generation. We started finally getting solar onto many of our county structures. We have a major solar RFP going out that will cover about 30 structures and trying to integrate that. And also, we've been expanding our energy performance contracting initiatives to also expand renewables. So that's underway. We don't have much wind in Florida. In Florida, we're not in a wind corridor. The state of Florida also, the legislature also kind of eliminated wind as a potential renewable source for whatever reason, but we don't really have it, so it's not an issue. Where we do have it is far offshore. We do have far offshore coastal ocean wind corridors, but that's going to require, it's deep water, and it's going to require the floating wind technology in the ocean. That technology is just coming online now and probably won't be mature for another decade or so. But even then, we're really going to focus here in Florida on solar because we're the sunshine state, right, in America, and our utilities as well have been expanding solar. Here's just some metrics from the Sustainable Buildings Program. This Sustainable Buildings Program is an ordinance for the county to demand that all county development is resilient development, requiring all buildings to be LEED certified, all infrastructure to be Envision certified, both at the silver level or higher. So we've seen a marked improvement there with all county development as far as resilience approaches. And we're also seeing this matriculate into the private sector. We're seeing the commercial sector and the industrial sector also kind of take from our lead and following with LEED certifications and Envision certifications. Again, this all integrates into planning, design, construction, management, renovation, maintenance, decommissioning of other infrastructure. Really, anywhere where there's county land, county monies being used, we require these elements. And also we have what are called prescriptive path elements. And I don't know if I have those, and maximum measures. Let's see if I have those here. I think I can skip this one. This is just the language. Oh, yeah. So now too, what we've done is there's this purpose-driven procurement. I think I have a slide on that later, but essentially all money projects coming in now at the front now have to have resilience language in the contract. So when we go to initiate contracts or bids, all of this language is already in there saying you must adhere to these policies and you must integrate into the contract. We found in the past, if it's not in the contract, even though it might be a county policy, it just won't get done. And then the contractors say, well, we weren't obligated. So now we're integrating that into our contract language, which is good. Here's the prescriptive path elements of our Sustainable Buildings Program. So we require cool roofs, reflective roofing to reduce heat absorption, energy and water use benchmarking, EV charging stations, at least 2% of parking spaces. Also, we require up to another 18% of the hardwiring conduit infrastructure for future use so that the spaces are already ready. They'll just need the charger. We also require life cycle cost analysis on big elements, whether they be chillers or different elements of a construction project. And also we have a solar feasibility requirement that we want to do an analysis to see if that project can integrate solar. A lot of the times the different projects say, well, we don't have money or we don't want to do solar. But here in the Office of Resilience, we just want to see if it's a possibility. And if it is, then we can help the department either find the funding or find a way to get it implemented. Here's a purpose-driven procurement. Again, we have 4 E's in the county. The mayor initiated this a long time ago: equity, economy, engagement, environment. And PDP really focuses on that upfront perspective of procurement, trying to integrate resilience into the procurement process. And then finally, here are all of our plans: our heat action plan, our Biscayne Bay plan, our Resilient 305, that's our local area code. That's a resilience plan that was developed several years ago. Thrive 305 is really the encompassing kind of over the umbrella plan. This also addresses tree canopy expansion for carbon uptake and as well as reducing heat island effects. And we have the purpose-driven procurement, the sea level rise strategy, and of course our climate action strategy. So we're making headway here in Miami-Dade County. I think we have a lot to do, but we've accomplished quite a lot, and I think we're on our way really to get to a place where we're at least more towards the goals that we're trying to reach. Thank you so much.
Very much, Jason, for your very interesting presentation and for all your efforts that that you're putting in. From my perspective, and before leaving the floor to Stefania for her debriefing, I just find it so inspiring that despite all those natural disasters that you're facing, you're so resilient, and every time you're building everything back up from the ground. So thank you very much for that very inspiring stance. Stefania, please.
Indeed. Thank you, Nicola, and thank you so much, Jason, for the presentation. There is so much to comment. I think I don't have enough time because I would like to get into the detail of a lot of the things that you've mentioned. But first of all, I think it was super interesting to hear from a coastal city that is also a metropolis. So of course that there are very common challenges to other coastal cities, but due to the huge population that you have, it's a very specific case. Thank you so much for starting from the adaptation. And I know that you work on mitigation, so I don't want to start a fight on this, but I am a huge supporter of adaptation. I do think that to the colleagues that you mentioned, that they say, why do we do this now for the next decades? I think that from the latest reports of, especially from the IPCC and the data that we have scientifically, we know that it's true that we can work so much on mitigation, and we should, and we do all globally, especially also in Europe and the United States. We are working hard on mitigation, on reducing emissions, but the data shows also that we have reached a point in which the consequences of climate change are inevitable. So adaptation is inevitable as well, and of course should be taken as soon as possible. So it's been super interesting to hear the different solutions and the technologies that you are designing, and would be also super interesting because, as of course Miami is a hub of innovation and economy, I'm sure that technology is available. So it would be also interesting, maybe in another virtual coffee, to hear more on how the private companies also are involved and can support the city in developing this technology. Because as you were saying, of course, there are policies and investment that come from the public funding, but I'm sure that that's not enough, as it is in Europe, not enough the public funding to reach these goals for sure. And also regarding the mitigation goals and the reducing of emission by 2030, you know that we have the case in Europe. We have 112 cities that now have committed to become totally climate neutral by 2030. Of course, it's true that they don't have the size of Miami, but still it's a huge challenge. So it's really, we are all in the same pot, we can say, literally. So in this case, it's also good to hear that we share the same challenges globally, basically. And especially in these two sectors that you have mentioned, the built environment, of course, the buildings, the energy, and of course transportation. It's a huge challenge, no? Because especially because the infrastructure required to be updated, and the funds, not only, but also the time to do this infrastructure takes a lot of years. And this is another challenge, because for one side we do have certain goals that are kind of short terms, because 2030 is very near. But from another perspective, of course, that we have to mobilize a certain kind of investment and also to update this kind of infrastructure. So yeah, it's a huge challenge for all cities. And last thing that I wanted to mention as well, of course that yes, you mentioned this is a legislation, I understand, with the resilience, no, the everything that has been leveraged, or correct me if I'm wrong, in terms of funds, has to have this climate sensibility, let's say. So I think this is very similar to the European taxonomy, what we are trying to do here. Also, of course, this is supranational. In the case of Europe, it's not mandatory for cities, but it is something that it's really helping as well the cities and the private companies to take into consideration the sustainability and the environmental compliance. So in these terms, it's good to hear that also in the United States, similar initiatives are going on, especially at city level. So it was interesting to hear this. Thank you, Jason.
No, thank you. And just for matter perspective, I forgot to mention Miami-Dade County is about 3 million constituents here, and in the Southeast Florida region, which is the other neighboring county, is about 5.5 million. So, yeah, as you said, a large metropolis, and we also we can't we have a hard time making use of waste heat because everything down. We don't have district heating. We don't have any need for heat. So on the energy, on the electricity side of buildings, it's all cooling. And the cooling is difficult to use waste heat. So.
That's super interesting that you mentioned it. We are working, for example, in a project with Istanbul and Helsinki, and they're working on the same objective. So it's also a little bit resonating, no? Because effectively we have cities that really don't need any cooling, and then for another side, cities that really need heating. Right. But it's the same struggle with a different face. But of course, it's interesting to highlight.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions from our participants? Now is the time for you to speak if you have anything that you would like to ask our two great presenters or our experts, Stefania. Please go ahead.
I know we're very limited on time, but I wanted to thank you, all of you, Axina, Jason, and Stefania, for your presentations and words. I just have two direct questions, one for Axina and one for Jason. You mentioned at some point, Axina, it was really nice when you were mentioning this green city focus that you have, that awareness and environmental education was one of the first things that popped out, like even almost like as a second priority or as a first one. So I don't know if you can tell us a little bit more about that approach and how do you engage citizens within that?
So I must say that basically, first of all, the thing is that in our case, we are lucky enough. We used to have very nice city mayor, and our citizens, I would say, were quite supportive of him because of his strategy. And so this is also kind of important. But if to talk about the citizens themselves, how to reach them, so we have many different ways. First of all, maybe one of the most important, we were organizing the special energy days. So this is literally the name, and during which we were kind of trying to bring the information to the public and also organizing some small either competitions or just some information exchange. So during these days, so that just to raise awareness of the people, what we are doing and why we are doing that, so that they really understand that. And also we are, of course, educating kids at schools. So we have like extra classes, extra activities. So we are trying to also to engage like the young population, in understanding these global troubles. And this is kind of what we are doing. And of course, all our actions, all our activities, they are being constantly posted on the website, on the official website, and like on news, local news, so that people know what we are doing. And so in that case, we are trying to engage them in this regard. So also we have, maybe it's not that much of the public awareness campaign, but I would say like we also are trying at the governmental level, not only, I would say even at the national level, also at the local level, to provide some kind of programs for the citizens, which would engage them in the energy consuming reduction process or the reduction of an energy consumption process. So basically, so we are offering them, like if you want to renovate your house, you will get a great discount for that, for example, or government will support you doing so. So for example, government covers a certain percent, quite big percent, usually it's more than 50%, I would say, so of the cost, if you do this renovation in a certain way. And we are trying to engage the citizens also in this case. So this is what comes to my mind now. But of course, like now it's not that much of the awareness campaign, let's say, because now we are kind of a bit pressed by another issues. Yes, but we used to have all that on the regular basis. Yes.
Thank you so much for that. A little bit of politics, a little bit of sympathy, a little bit of incentives as well in the framework to push for this thing. So thank you so much for that, for those remarks, Axinia, and for Jason, really quickly also. To reach this, you mentioned the collaboration within all the levels of government. And as Stefania told us, of course, including some other stakeholders and private funding for covering this gap of like 25 to 30% of the mitigation that we still have to do to reach that. It's kind of like quite a big question mark for everyone. I was wondering, how is this collaboration when we think about this 50-year horizon plan? That, from the example from the Netherlands, they think together with of course, being a very small country, right? But together with the central government in a horizon of 100 years. So how are those negotiations, and how do you see that taking a step forward?
So here in the U.S., we have 3 tiers, right? We have the federal government, we have our state governments, and then we have our local governments. And it all depends on what state you're in. That determines what your state government is doing. At the federal level, this administration has been very supportive and very progressive through the different acts, the Infrastructure Act, and then the Inflation Reduction Act, which was really a Clean Energy Act. So there's a huge amount of federal funds being funneled down to the local governments. Sometimes those federal funds are funneled through the states. So you're kind of waiting for your state to receive those funds and delegate them. And sometimes states don't want them and refuse them. But fortunately, we're not in that case right at the moment. We were for a little bit for political reasons, but our state is a bit conservative. On the adaptation side, however, our state, even though it's conservative, is pretty progressive with the adaptation side. So our state legislature and government has been very supportive of for example, Everglades restoration, flooding issues, windstorm adaptation, coastal stuff like that. But on the other hand, on the mitigation side, they don't want anything to do with that. They think that's not the right approach, or for whatever reason, they're not behind that. So that can be frustrating. But at the federal level, we have a lot of support. We just got we were talking about innovation before, and you were talking about the local Stefania, about the local economy and developing those technologies. We just got I think a $4.5 million grant from the government for our Office of Innovation and Economic Development to develop a tech hub here in Miami. We were one of 10 tech hubs in the country to get that funding. So that's really exciting. That's really putting Miami on the map for tech innovation to address all of these issues, resilience issues, circular economy, carbon, things like that. I still believe that overall, hang on one second. I still believe overall that we still need a carbon market. We need a carbon market. We need carbon policy. We need a carbon tax. We need a carbon tax. We need all these things to really hit those targets. And I think without it, it's going to be very difficult to organize that. But we're still making efforts. The government also funded, I think, $11 billion to hydrogen hubs. There are 10 or 11 hydrogen hubs that just received a ton of funding to develop a hydrogen production and distribution network for green hydrogen, not brown. And if we can go that route, I think there's some promise there. Our electric utility that operates in the state of Florida, which is a monopoly, it's a regulated monopoly, has pledged quite nicely a real zero plan by 2045 for real zero. And the plan requires all hydrogen, right? So they're going to move all to solar and hydrogen. And that's wonderful. We haven't seen how they're going to do it in their energy mix beyond 2030. They mention it, but their 10-year plan really doesn't go beyond 2030. And then how do you do it? How are you producing this green hydrogen? And then how are you distributing it? And how are you producing, I don't know, even if their mix is 30% solar and the rest hydrogen, how are you producing that much green hydrogen? To do that, they might, I hope they do. That would certainly fix the emissions on the electricity side for buildings. And then we just need to focus on the transportation side, which would be very helpful. So again, the federal government stepping in there to develop these hydrogen hubs and market development and the distribution networks and all that, and hopefully that pans out.
Thank you so much, Jason. And I think that sounds the hydrogen discussion sounds like a follow-up possible.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. Next week, yeah.
And a lot of things
Absolutely.
to do to cover that. So thank you so much. And Nicola, back to you.
Well, thank you very much. I think that we're coming to an end. Just let me share my screen once more. So to warn you about our upcoming event, so the 15-minute City Agora Dialogue, which will happen on November the 13th. On the next day, on the 14th, we have a portal discovery tour. If you're interested in knowing more about the UTMC platform and how you can use it to better collaborate with your peers from all around the globe, please come and see how you can do that. And our next virtual coffee sessions on November the 20th on governance with interventions by Antalya and Guimarães in Portugal. Please stay tuned, and data will be scheduled for December the 11th. In the meantime, if you are participating in the World Urban Forum of the happening in Cairo in early November, please make sure to stop by the UTM booth. Thank you very much, everyone, for being here today and for your inspiring presentation. All the best for you in the month and the years to come. We'll make sure to stay in touch and to follow up on what was said today. Thank you very much for your participation. Goodbye.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you also from my side. Bye.
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 Thank you.
Bye. Thank you very much.